Hey friend, welcome to Self Transformed, a podcast redefining self-care through simple fitness, nutrition, and mindset habits. I'm your host, Emily Nichols, certified personal trainer, Whole30 coach, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I know the struggle is real when it comes to taking care of you. I too am a busy working mom who felt physically and emotionally drained until I took action on my own transformation journey. I finally found the solutions to feeling confident and living a healthy lifestyle that doesn't feel hard, and now I'm on a mission to equip you with sustainable tools to help transform your life from the inside out, guilt-free. Together, we will simplify your health and fitness into daily habits that don't feel like another thing on your long to-do list, but daily actions that light you up instead. So if you're ready to redefine self-care and step into your own self-transformation, then let's do this. You're listening to episode 124 of Self Transformed. Hey friend, welcome back to the show. Excuse my voice. I'm losing my voice. Unfortunately, I was battling a little bit of a severe head cold last week, and it just hasn't gone away completely yet. But I'm taking a lot of time to rest, hydrate, lots of vitamin C, zinc, all the things to make sure that I am well. And that goes really well with what we're talking about on today's show. So today I'm giving you a behind the scenes look at a workshop I did in my Facebook community. So every month I hold a free, super short, like 15 minutes or less mini workshop, and it's voted on by our community members there in the group. And this particular one, they voted on talking about proactive versus reactive self-care. And like I was just saying, I wasn't doing a lot of proactive self-care to take care of myself. And now I'm having to do some reactive self-care because my body burnt out. I got sick. My immune system was down because I was running myself too thin. So now I'm having to do a little reactive self-care, which involved taking a lot of time for rest, saying no to some things, and really just making myself a priority and to ensure I am healthy, which I know this time of year, it's been a really, really busy December already. We're like a week in already, if that. And I know, especially as a mom, there are a lot of tabs open in your head, friends. So I hope today you're able to listen and think about ways that you can proactively start taking care of yourself now so that burnout, overwhelm, stress doesn't happen where you have to just shut everything down and do some type of reactive self-care. Okay. So, when we're thinking about taking care of ourselves through self-care, the show used to be called the Self-Care Isn't Selfish podcast because I truly wholeheartedly believe that self-care is not selfish. It's actually very necessary. So you don't find yourself getting sick like I am right now, or getting to the point where you're completely burnt out. And, reactive self-care may just be emotional eating for that matter, which is obviously not good for the long term. So when we're thinking about self-care, I like to think of it in a holistic view. So mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all these different things. And that's what we talk about in Self Transform You. It's my signature program. We don't put all of our eggs in one basket when it comes to self-care. We think about it in a whole comprehensive way, because what if one of those things go away? I've been sick this past week, and what my biggest pillar of self-care for me is movement. And I haven't been working out because, in all honesty, I needed to rest my body, and that wouldn't have served me very well. So I have other things in place to help take care of myself and my self-care when that disappears. Okay. And I know a lot of this sounds, easier said than done. So that's when something like habit strategy comes into play in order to make this happen for you. Because, if you struggle with time management and making habits stick, then definitely go check out the Habits That Stick starter kit. Okay. So get a pen and paper handy, take some notes from this workshop. Come join us over in the Facebook community as well at bit.ly/self-transformed-fam. That way you can get in on these free monthly workshops as well. I'll also be making a very big announcement to them first this Wednesday about a signature workshop that it's a bigger one that I usually do, and it's totally revamped. I won't give you too many clues. I'm going to give you a bonus episode on Thursday giving you more details, but my girls over in the Self Transform family get to know that first and foremost. So come join us over there. I have super fun announcement coming on about that workshop, some giveaways happening as well, and a very, very special insider look at what STU, Self Transform You, my signature program, is going to look like in January. I can't wait. I'm so glad you're here. Get that pen and paper handy, and let's talk about proactive versus reactive self-care. Hey, good morning, gang. I hope you are having a wonderful Thursday. It's Throwback Thursday, Thirsty Thursday, Friday Junior, all the words, all the words. So I am here for it. Thank you so much for joining us for our monthly mini workshop here within the Self-Transformed group / family. I'm so glad you're here, whether you're watching this live or hashtag it in the comments, hit replay and comment below. Tell us hello as you're joining as well. As we talked about and we voted about for this month, you voted to talk about proactive versus reactive self-care. I'm so excited to talk to you about this subject. A reminder, every month I put out a poll with some options for you and for an option for you to give some other suggestions for what you'd like for me to talk about during these monthly workshops. If this is your first time joining us, make sure to go to the guides section because I have previous workshops saved there for you as well, including some worksheets that I've created in the past too to help you start taking action in regards to your own self-care. So let me just share the screen here with you. So like I said, I'm so excited to talk about this subject matter, proactive versus reactive self-care. Thinking about how to take care of yourself now before the burnout happens. We've all been there, right? We've all been there. So goals for today, as always, is to be brief. I know you're busy, so you might be watching this even later when you're cooking dinner for your kids or in the shower even. I listen to a lot of even Facebook Lives. Not the phone's not in the shower with me, but in the bathroom with me, and I can hear it, necessarily not watching. But so we're going to be brief. We are going to help you take action. And of course, always thinking about how we can redefine what self-care really means to you. And today we're doing this with a focus on taking care of yourself now. So the actual act of self-care and that mindset shift with it. If we haven't had a chance to chat a little closely, or you aren't a client of mine always yet, sorry, I'm reading what it says right there. We're not talking about meal prep today. All right, gang. Well, just a reminder, hello, my name is Emily Nichols. I'm the host of the Self Transformed podcast. I am a certified personal trainer, Whole30 certified coach, behavior change specialist, which means I geek out on habits. Most importantly, though, I'm a wife, boy, mom, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. And I'm so glad you're here. You know, over time, it's really my self-care definition has really developed over time. I'll kind of give you an idea of what my definition means. But if you were to look it up, if you were to Google it, which is what I did, what the definition of self-care is, there's two different ones. It is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. Love that. The practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. Protecting one's own well-being and happiness. Oh my goodness, that's such a great way to think about self-care. My own personal definition of self-care is doing the hard things every day to take care of yourself. So you are able to show up as your best self for everyone that you love around you. Fueling yourself up from the inside out, being that bright light. So as far as like proactive versus reactive self-care, what does that mean? So proactive. That word itself means it's self-initiated behavior that endeavors to solve a problem before it has occurred. You're solving a problem before it has occurred, okay? Proactive behavior involves acting in advance of a future situation rather than reacting, okay? Totally opposite from reactive. You are proactively taking care of yourself ahead of time, in advance of a future situation, which we'll talk about here in a second, what a future situation may look like. Okay. Reactive, that definition is acting in response to a situation. So, for example, exhaustion, burnout, rather than creating or controlling it. Okay. So let's talk about some proactive self-care examples. So taking care of yourself now. I could have made a list that was like 1,000 bullet points long. I had to stop myself, but here's just some examples of some proactive self-care. Okay. Time management, such as habit tracking or habit hacking, which we talk about a lot in the self-transformed community and STU and with my clients that do the habit hacking strategy calls with me every month. Boundaries, saying no, or even asking for help can help you set a boundary. Daily movement. That doesn't have to be some hardcore movement. It could just be walking outside. Quality sleep. Oh, just talking about sleep makes me yawn. We need to make sure you're taking quality rest time. Hydration, getting outside, eating colorful foods that fuel you, but also enjoying foods too, not restricting the rest of your life because that's not fun, nor is it sustainable. Pray, journal, meditate, whatever floats your boat. Connection with others, and also alone time. Everyone has their own definition of some self-care activities, but these are all proactive self-care examples. Okay. And when we think about self-care, we've talked about this a ton in our community because self-care kind of has a bad rap. It's a buzzword, right? We think of bubble baths and manicures, although there's nothing wrong with any of that. Gimme. I like that stuff too. But like I mentioned, it's the hard things you do every day to take care of yourself. So, but in giving you all of these bullet points, like I said, I could have listed like 1,000 of them. How does that make you feel when you see all those bullet points? Me listing those off, does that make you feel overwhelmed? Like, well, how the heck am I even supposed to like do that? Right. I know if it was me, 6 years ago, I would have felt the same way before I had my own transformation and figured out my own self-care routine just through my own transformation. But y'all, these don't have to be really big things. These can be very small little things that you do throughout your day, small little healthy habits that make a really big impact. Okay. These are things that are already set in place. So when what hits the fan, you can deal with it a little bit better. Okay. So here's just an example. So I have curated my own self-care routine. It doesn't just happen in the morning, like #morning routine. These little things happen throughout my day in order to take care of myself. It didn't happen over time. It just curated itself over time. It has shifted as my life has shifted, as my work schedule has shifted when my kids were home. But think of like the year 2020. Like I said, my kids were home. It was a very stressful time. There were so many unknowns. I had this big anchored self-care routine that allowed me to better deal with all the things going on. So instead of feeling just total exhaustion and burnout, which still happens, it doesn't happen as often now because I am doing these things daily to take care of myself. And it changes, like I said, the seasons of your life change. And I notice when I'm not doing some of the things on my own self-care routine to take care of myself because I'm moodier. I am quick to snap at my kids. I'm like, don't even feel like making dinner for my kids or my family because I'm like, ugh, like one more thing on my list, right? That sounds terrible, but it's true. But by having all of these other things in place and being really cognizant of that, you are able to proactively take care of yourself now. So when things get hard, it doesn't feel quite as hard. And being aware of that when you're like, oh, I'm kind of slipping on my self-care activities, I need to get back on it. How many times do we say we fell off the wagon and we just kind of throw our hands up and we see the wagon like running away off in the distance? No, you can always get back on the wagon. And I'm doing air quotes right now, but you can't see me if you're listening back to this on the show. So let's talk about reactive self-care. So reactive self-care example. So with reactive self-care, you feel like you have no choice now, like mentally, physically, emotionally, etc. You have to do something or else you are just going to totally burn out and just have analysis paralysis and you're just not moving forward in taking care of yourself anymore, or you have to. Okay. So thinking of some reactive self-care. So keeping in the forefront of your mind, some of these are examples that sound like self-care, but are they really just a Band-Aid? Okay. So think of it this way: showing yourself love only out of response of distress or overload of your body or mind / burnout is forcing you to rest or to react to these feelings. Okay. So it's not being proactive, it's being reactive. You have to, you're like, well, I have to do something now because my body, my mind, emotionally, I am in distress. I am in overload. I'm burnout. I have to do those things. Like when, like I felt really overwhelmed the past couple of weeks. I've been extra busy with launching STU, getting those girls set up in the live group coaching program. Things were very hectic around my home and I wasn't doing a great job taking care of myself. And I straight up told my boys on one day, I was like, I'm going to sleep my face off in the morning because I am so tired. I don't know if I can go on another day. And I did. And I slept the morning away and it felt so great. But at the same time, I was like, man, this really could have been avoided if I was getting quality sleep to start with as part of like my personal self-care. Okay. So let's talk about maybe some more specific reactive self-care examples. So Amazon shopping, overspending spree. That is where I go when I am overstressed and I overspend. I go shopping online. You find yourself at the bottom of a half a gallon of ice cream. Okay. You're weighing yourself on the scale and then you respond by working out for punishment. You're using food like sugar and alcohol just to escape it all. These are all examples of reactive self-care that I have personally done over the years and what I've heard from some of the clients in STU and my Whole30 clients as well. So is it really taking care of the problem that you're having, or is it just a Band-Aid? Is it just a Band-Aid? Is it something you're just covering up and you're not really solving the problem? Okay. So going back to those proactive self-care examples, when we're doing that, we're on top of it. When we're doing reactive self-care, we're coming from a place of distress and there's just no choice anymore. And we're doing things that maybe we would be like, oh, this is self-care, but is it really? Is it really handling like the overwhelm and stress? Where else can you eliminate that so you aren't reacting, and including maybe some unhealthy habits in reactive self-care? Okay, so I want you to think about that. So bonus tip. So with self-care, there's various forms of self-care. You have to find what works best for you. I always focus on movement, nutrition, and mindset. Like those are like my 3 big buckets of self-care for me personally that help me make a well-rounded self-care routine. And there's little other buckets underneath those buckets as well. But there's various forms of self-care. It can be physical, it can be mental, emotional, spiritual, social, professional, practical. Okay. So physical could be movement. Mental could be journaling or mantras. Emotional could be emotional connection, with your husband or someone you love. Spiritual could be with God. Social could be just connecting with friends and others. Professional could be, making sure you're staying on top of your emails and having a system for that. Practical could be, meal prepping. That way I have food in advance and able to go. Okay. So physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, professional, practical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different areas of self-care that you could help curate a proactive self-care routine. Okay. So as always, we always want to take action at the end of these workshops. I will never leave you without an action item. So I want you to think about creating small acts of self-care throughout the day. So some of those proactive examples that I gave you, if you're watching this on the replay in the group, you can rewind, screenshot the slide I'm sharing with you in regards to some proactive self-care examples. And pick some small acts of self-care throughout the day. Like I mentioned, this doesn't have to be big. It can be 5 minutes or less of like things you're doing for yourself. Then pick 3 from the various forms of self-care that I just mentioned. Okay, like physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, professional, practical examples. Pick 3 of them that you could fill up your own little bucket and write it down, schedule it down. We take it a step further in my programming where we habit hack it into your life, because I don't know if you're like me, you've done so many wellness programs, or you're always looking to improve yourself and listening to podcasts and like mine and books and whatnot. But then if you don't take action, what's the point? Right? What's the point? So I want you to do that today. Sit down, take out a pen and paper, write down 3 small acts of self-care that you can do throughout the day. See if you can make that happen throughout the next week for yourself. Report back to me. Let me know how it went. Okay. So if you need some extra assistance with figuring out your own self-care routine in regards to movement, mindset, nutrition, and all focused around with a nice pretty bow and habit hacking, as you know, you can enroll in Self Transform You, the course. You can go to selftransformu.com to learn more. This helps you transform from the inside out and create a health plan that will actually stick, because it is backed and proven habit strategies. And like I said, I am a behavior change specialist. It's a certification I got, which pretty much means I geek out on habits. Okay. So as I mentioned, my girls are in STU Live right now. That won't be available again until January. But if you want to purchase the course, you can go to selftransformu.com to take a look at that. Or maybe you just need some help with your habits. You're like, I do a little self-care here and there, but I never do it consistently. Let's hop on a habit hacking strategy call together. You can go to bit.ly/habit hacking call to learn more. What is this call all about? It's 30 minutes. What we'll do is habit inventory your day. We'll use proven habit strategies to create tiny habits, like we just mentioned, that will actually stick. We'll finally stop the stopping and starting over again. You're going to stop feeling overwhelmed because you're going to make this fit in your schedule, and it's not going to feel hard anymore. Like I said, you're going to make the most of your time. 30-minute call is actually going to be a big game changer for you. So like I said, you can go to bit.ly/habit hacking call if you'd like to schedule that with me. So thank you for attending today's workshop. As always, like I said, I want to be brief, 15 minutes or less. It might have been a minute or two over. But make sure to connect with me on Instagram at EmilyNichols22. Let me know if this was helpful for you today. And of course, always continue listening to Self Transform for further free content and inspiration. You can, as I mentioned, check out the guide section here in our group. That way you are able to look at previous workshops that maybe you missed and that you'd like to still participate in, and previous worksheets as well. Always here for you, always cheering for you, girl. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk soon. Bye. Hey girl, real quick, before you go, if you love today's show and know your girlfriends need to hear this message too, then grab a screenshot, post it to your Instagram stories, and tag me at EmilyNichols22, because the more mamas out there hearing this message, the more empowered we'll all feel to take care of ourselves so we can pour from a full cup. Or the number one way you can thank me for this podcast is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way, more mamas will find the show here too. Love you and appreciate you, girlfriends. See you next time.